Scoop Nation, rejoice. It's game day. We've got the maize and blue. As they say here in Tiger Town, lock them gates, man, because I'll tell you what, I'm locked in here inside of the Scoop Vault, and it's time to lock these Wolverines inside and do what we know how we can do to them. All right, listen, this is going to be a 10-round heavyweight fight. If you followed along on any of the social media stuff that I've been doing here over the last couple of days, you know that when you have a matchup inside of the top five, it's going to be intense. My senior year, 2006, the only time in history of this rivalry that it was number one versus number two. All right, so let me get you dialed in here, man, because this is where it gets a little bit intense. All right, when you have a matchup of those proportions, stuff changes. Okay, it's one thing if you've each got 2 or 3 losses coming into that game. A little bit of the importance wears off because, hey, it's still the game. But when it's the game and you're talking about a chance to compete for a Big Ten championship, a chance to compete for a national championship, things change. We're talking number 2 versus number 3 inside of the horseshoe, just an hour away from now. All right. So I'm locked here inside the vault because they won't let me out, because they don't let caged animals out like that. And I'm wondering here, we talked about it on the thread. If you go over to BuckeyeScoop.com, check out the thread that I started here this morning. We've talked a lot this year about offensive line play. All right. And when you get stories from the vault, you're getting it right here from the OG 7 Deuce, man. I'm going to shoot you straight. I'm not going to give you any fluff. I mean, this is no bullshit right here, okay? This is coming straight from the trenches. I haven't seen guys with that killer attitude up front, and I need to see that today. Because if you don't have that today out there, you will lose the football game. I promise you that. This is a game that is won in the trenches. It always has, and it always will be. It's going to be about establishing the run. Yes, you're going to have some home run shots. We've seen over the last couple of years, there have been some scores that got rang up. Hey, kudos to Urban, man, because he was a gas pedal type of guy. Certain coaches in this ball game talk about winning with class. They talk about, let's keep it respectable. I'm the type of guy, man, let's score as many points as we can before it's all said and done. And I think even Coach Ryan Day said, hey, shit, we're going to hang 100 on them. I like that. Let's hang 100 on them. But we know that we're facing a good team today. So respect your opponent and understand that when the Wolverines get off the bus, they're bringing a squad in there that, regardless of whether quorum is banged up or not, that doesn't matter. There's dudes, there's depth there. Okay? Coach Harbaugh has got some guys back there that they'll be ready to step up and play in this game. And that's one of the greatest things about this game is that you see guys, talked about it with Ryan earlier on the Scoop podcast. There's guys in this game that have stepped up that you said, well, I didn't hear from him all regular season. And now all of a sudden this dude's balling out in the biggest game in college football. Well, that could happen today. And I'm expecting a guy like Hayden, number 5, you coming behind that offensive line, who is going to wake up this morning. I just got a phone call from down there at the Blackwell. They said they're lining up. They said these dudes woke up a little bit angry. They didn't feed them. They kind of had chains on them. They threw them a couple pork chop bones and say, listen, man, tomahawk, whatever you got to do, get it right. Maybe you need to sport the mohawk, put this thing together with your Letterman jacket, whatever you're sporting out there today with that NIL money, whatever you do, you need to come correct. And this offensive line, I've talked about it all season with Kirk. I've talked about it with Ryan. I've talked about it with all of you in Scoop Nation. There's been an attitude that's been lacking. Let me tell you about the attitude that you need from this game. And here's why we got stories from the vault, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in here this morning. We're about 50 minutes away from kickoff. The horseshoe is going to be rocking. The atmosphere is going to be electric. It's a beautiful day for college football. The sun is out. It's shining off the Olentangy. Let's frickin' go. Okay? But let me tell you about the attitude you need to have coming into this game. The attitude changes a little bit. Because when you start out on Sunday and you got the band and you've got some team meetings and you talk to some former players and some former coaches and they kind of plug you in on what it's like, well, the entire week leading up to this moment is the preparation to go out there and prepare for what I call a 10-round heavyweight bout. Now, I'm stealing that from my guy, Joe Rudolph. And if you're out there, Rudy, what's up, my man? Rudy was a grad assistant coach for us on the offensive line under Jim Bowman and John Peterson, some legendary coaches. Joe Rudolph was a former Wisconsin Badger great player for them, played with the 49ers, went back, ended up coaching at Notre Dame, coaching at his alma mater, Wisconsin. So wherever you're at out there, Joe Rudolph, man, we wish you nothing but the best. Happy belated Thanksgiving. But you know what? When we took the field in '06 and it was 1-2, Joe Rudolph, throughout that entire week of preparation, said this is going to be a 10-round heavyweight fight. And when Mike Hart and Jake Long and Chad Henne, when those guys came out there and they drove down the field and scored that first touchdown inside the horseshoe, he looked at us. He said, listen, this is a 10-round heavyweight fight. They rang the bell first. Now it's time for you to answer. You constantly have to be able to answer that bell in this game because it's going to go back and forth. We ended up going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all the way until it was 42-39, and we were able to come out victorious. It's all about the guy who's got his hands up at the end, last man standing, who's going to get it done, who's got more heart. This is what it's about right in here in this ball game. That's the attitude that I'm talking about. It's between the ears and it's in the heart. When you wake up on Saturday morning knowing that you're going to get a chance to play against the Michigan Wolverines, there's got to be something that courses through your veins that's so electric, that changes you, that turns you into this animal that is relentless, and you can't wait for more. And I talked about it back when we would do interviews before this game. This is like the great white sharks. When they see blood in the water, all the sharks come out. Now, there's going to be a lot of sharks out there on the field today. Who's going to be the biggest and baddest? Who's going to rule the sea? Who's going to rule the land inside of the horseshoe? I'm expecting the Buckeyes to be able to get it done. Give you a couple stories here, post some stuff on my Facebook. Check me out on social media. Check out my company, Stark Media. Go over to Twitter. Give us a follow at Stark Media Team. Got a lot of great content that we put up there following high school sports, all the sports. Got some different projects that we do with the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club, the Hall of Fame, everything that's going on around the area. Check us out, man, at Stark Media Team. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe and like this video here. Helps Buckeye Scoop grow. We're trying to grow Stark Media Team. Anything we can do to reach the masses, get this content out there, and try and give you guys exactly what you need to be able to consume on game day. This is where it's at right here. Stories from the vault. They got me locked in. I got some of them scoop coins over there, Bitcoins. We're going to cash in and get a couple cheesesteaks before the game, maybe a 12-pack of Budweiser. I don't know. You know, there's going to be some things going on that we can't really talk about. We'll talk about the party after the game, man. I'll tell you what, 2006, we knew going into that game, you got to put your money where your mouth is. My man, Anthony Gonzalez, he got 100 Cohiba cigars. Congressman Gonzalez, 100 Cohibas for the locker room afterwards. Some Monte Cristos in there. We were ready to rock, right? So Barton, our Scoop CEO, fearless leader, he steps his game up, gets that big boy Dom Perignon. It was about like $1,600 a bottle. Cost him a couple of his rent checks that I had to cover for him. You know, that was back when I used to be his landlord. He was my tenant, and now I'm just his minion. So I'm out here, hey, even though I got the coat on, man, looking good in here inside the Scoop vault, doesn't mean I don't have to pay my dues as well, man. Listen, he got the big boy bottle of Dom Perignon. I stepped it up. I said, listen, I'm going to need 3 stretch Hummer limos to pick me up outside of the Woody Hayes Center after this game is over. And sure enough, my man, Fernando. If you guys haven't checked this dude out over at Extreme Hummer Limousine, Extreme Limousine, right up there, I believe it's off of Sawmill. Go check out Fernando and his crew at Extreme. They've got everything you need. They got the Sasquatch limo. They've got the stretch Hummer limos. We had 3 of them boys. We were rolling down Lane Avenue, convoy style. Looked like the military parade was coming into town, man. We had the Scud missiles coming up out the top. That was just me hanging out the bottom with a couple of the bottles, but we had the Scud missile hanging out there ready to rock and roll, man. But Kirk Barton got the Dom Perignon. I juiced it up a little bit, got the bottle of Old Granddad, got the bottle of Jack Daniels. And when I had to roll in, it was me and Teddy Ginn, man. Last 2 men standing. We was the only ones in the locker room left, man. And we already had a pretty good buzz going, man. We passed around a bottle of Jack. I had that Mohawk. I poured a little fresh Jack on top there, man. Kind of burned a little bit. I let out a little bit of yelp. That was more crying I did in that moment than I did the entire ball game, because you know the Michigan Wolverines, Sean Crable, all them cats, it was crying, man. That's all they did, man. Lamar Woodley, all the big fellas up front, Alan Branch. That's all they did was cry, man, because we were relentless. And that's a word I need to see in this game today. I need to see an offensive line that's relentless. And when we were relentless, you work hard, you play hard, you get in the locker room with a bottle of old granddad and you say, listen, man, this is bad Santa. It's Christmas time, man. Let's go. Let's get in Hummer limos. Let's go out and celebrate. Let's play hard after we knock off the Michigan Wolverines, because there's nothing in football like beating Michigan. There's nothing like beating your rival, but there's nothing like the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. There's nothing like beating Michigan, especially when you got them at home. I love beating them in Ann Arbor, but beating them at home in front of a packed house, in front of a sellout crowd, game days there. This is what it's all about, man. You got to celebrate in the locker room after you handle your business. That's what that's the fun side of this thing. You know, we went out there at times. Again, I told you to check us out on social media. Go and check out my social media page, TJ Downing on Facebook, and you'll be able to see. I put up a picture. God rest his soul, man. Gary Howstow, man, was one of the legendary sideline photographers for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and he caught a picture of me. We were doing a TV timeout, and I think I was yelling over at Lamar Woodley something about Alan Branch owes me child support because I'm, because I'm his baby's daddy now, and you know what? I had to tell these boys, man, you start talking to these guys inside their head, you start screwing with them a little bit, and during that TV timeout, I'm over there just flapping the jaws, flat going back and forth. Alan, you owe the university. You're stealing a scholarship from these guys. You think you're good, but you're not. You ain't got nothing for these Buckeyes. You ain't got nothing for 72. I got you all day, my man. And so, I had to let these guys know there were some choice words that I can't really drop in here because this thing won't get monetized if it does. But you know what? When you get a moment to be able to talk smack to these guys, you got to get inside their head. And I can tell you without even thinking that some of these guys, they were so upset with me. Guys like David Harris, guys like Sean Crable, guys like Pierre Woods, guys like Pat Massey and Terrence Newman and these guys in front of Terrence Taylor. These guys up front, I was in their heads to the point where they weren't worrying about their assignment. So I knew what was going on. I knew what they were trying to do. They were coming at me hell bent to rip my head off. And that's where the master, the reverse psychology comes into play. Screw with these guys, get them out of their element, get them out of their game, and get them to do things that they don't typically do, and then you can roll them up. That's why you get those penalties late in the ball game. Some of these guys do things that they're not used to do. You haven't seen the quarterback all game. You make a bad decision there, and all of a sudden you end up winning 42-39. So listen, man, I appreciate everybody all season long welcoming me in to Scoop Nation. I'm going to be here with you guys for the long haul. I'm going to be out there on the recruiting trail with you guys after the season's over. But we got a lot of unfinished business here. We got payback from last year. When I was at Ohio State, we dropped one game to Michigan the entire time I was there over 5 years. That was 2003. I didn't play in that ball game, traveled for it, but that was the 100th game in the rivalry. And for me to experience that loss before I started the next 3 years, it set the foundation. It let me know. And hey, I got a dad who was a captain and All-American for Bo Schembechler back in 1977. In 1976, they went down into the horseshoe and they beat Ohio State's ass 22-0. Well, when they got them up in their own place up there in Ann Arbor in the big house, they locked the gates in 77 too, and they put it on the Ohio State Buckeyes. So I know what it means. I know what it takes to win this ball game. And it comes from what my dad taught me, what his boys taught me. Guys like Billy Dufek, guys like Mike Ken, guys like Mark Donahue, some of the baddest dudes ever line up and do it. Guys like Rob Lytle, who had 165 yards and a score down there in the horseshoe. The attitude is when the offensive line comes out, whichever offensive line does this, and says, you know what? We ain't screwing around today. I'm going to give you something. I'm going to unleash something on you that you have never seen before. Some old pictures, they had me out there after Beanie Wells scored that big touchdown. I did the Predator. I was like, right? Bring the Predator out on him. Whatever you got to do, you bring out the fiercest, nastiest creature that you can find inside of you, and you bring that out in this game, and you unleash hell on anybody that crosses your path. Anybody that crosses your path in this game, you have to take them out. This is a game of intensity. It's a game of velocity, and it's a game of violence. This is a violent game. It's a violent game that we play out there. And today, just here in about 30, 40 minutes when we get this thing kicked off, I need to see some violent, nasty mothers across that offensive line for the Ohio State Buckeyes, because the offensive line in this game, whether it's Michigan or whether it's Ohio State, that group that comes out and plays nastier, brings the better attitude, brings the nastiness, guarantee you, mark my words, that will be the team that wins the ball game. Scoop Nation, I'm here, man. Your boy TJ Downing inside the Scoop Vault. I appreciate everybody rocking alongside stories from the vault, checking us out over Ryan McClincy and myself on our weekly podcast. Rolling alongside Buckeye Scoop, man. We're here to get it done. We're here to bring you that inside content. Don't look for anybody else, man. Right here. This is all you need, man. We got everything you need. Check us out on BuckeyeScoop.com. Jump on the post that I put out there, the game day prediction. Get a score prediction. I'll get you some of this Stark Media swag. We got some leftover pumpkins for you. Let's see here. I don't know what else we can find here for you. Let's get something. Maybe get you an autographed football or something. Get you one of these gold footballs. Give me that correct score prediction of the game today on BuckeyeScoop.com. Go to Ask the Insiders. Check out my thread that I put up there earlier. Get the score prediction right. I'm gonna get you guys some T-shirts from Stark Media headquarters here. Get you some stuff from inside the vault. I'm gonna keep this thing coming to you all season long as we get our March national championship. That's where it's at. Take care of Michigan. Maybe we see Iowa win the Big Ten championship. Don't really care who it is in the Big Ten championship. Handle your business today. Handle one more game in the championship, and let's go bring that big boy back home. Something that I never did. Did it our freshman year. I didn't play in that, but my senior year, we didn't get it done. We handled Michigan, and then we didn't get that last piece of the puzzle done. That's the challenge to these guys. Get it done today. Handle the next two. Bring it all back home to the horseshoe. Love you guys. Scoop Nation. I'm out, man. Go Bucks. Bring the attitude today.